Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm Jonathan Levi. I'm the CEO of HACERA. I'm the vice chair of the Token Taxonomy Initiative that is going to be probably the Token Taxonomy Consortium. And some of you heard that a few months ago I became the vice chair of this whole thing, worried about, am I not busy enough? And I am busy, and so there are some people here that I still need to send invoices to, and we don't have time. But I really think that this is a very important topic, which is why we're taking an active part in this. So let's talk about portability and interoperability. And I think that this is one of the biggest issues that we have when we're talking about adoption, platform risk, how much you invest in something, things are moving. Can systems talk to each other? Can people talk to each other? Can companies, can enterprises talk to each other in a way that doesn't require so much coordination, because enterprises are not really built to collaborate by nature. So we started, well, actually many people here know me from the Fabric days, right? And in the Fabric days, when I was working on 0.5 and 0.6 with Gary, and we were actually, I personally was worried that it's not going to be like an IBM thing, right? And I wanted to work on multi-cloud, and the first demo I gave at CoinDesk Consensus 2016 was how to connect Fabric from Google Cloud to the IBM Cloud. And we actually spent a lot of time trying to make sure that things are interoperable. And we had the same problem with Sotus later on, that we wanted to have it like in a platform agnostic way. But look, 3 years later, we have a lot of cloud support and a lot of blockchain as a services. We're partners with Azure, Oracle, IBM, and even Amazon. Even though they're working on 1.2 of Fabric right now, it's possible to run a blockchain as a service in a multi-cloud fashion. The problem that we had at the time was we don't have a unified interface. So we said, okay, look, let's just build an overlay network that allows a multi-cloud deployment. This was based on Hyperledger Fabric. We released this thing. We started listing out projects and giving them names, and we integrated with the Ethereum naming services, the ENS, and then we created another naming services for Fabric. And we actually worked a lot to kind of solve the identity and privacy, and we had some governance on top, and yeah, that was great. So we thought we were done, but we are not done, because we needed to also share some logic. So some of you here know that we partnered with Digital Asset a long time ago, like a year ago, and we showed the first DAML implementation of ISDA, the ISDA model, the CDM model. It was in London, Synchronized Europe last year, and we showed how we can easily connect a DAML smart contract or a DAML app to Fabric without changing Fabric. So we have something called Unbounded SCALE, which is a smart contract abstraction language. And we thought, okay, that's going to be very easy. Now we can easily run any smart contract that you like, even a Java chain code, even like I have some stuff in Solidity. There are some projects that actually connect. And now I am kind of multi-cloud, multi-blockchain, and I'm kind of almost logic agnostic. So are we there? I don't think so. The main problem that we have is actually all this stuff didn't work without a way to tokenize in a correct way. So we didn't speak the same language. So Ethereum did very well by defining ERC20, okay? But it was not enough, and then they started working on ERC 721, and then there's 14. There are so many, like the privacy ones and the security ones, et cetera, et cetera. Fabric is talking about Fabric token for quite some time. There are a lot of issues in terms of like keeping it generic enough to kind of be a financial services-based kind of framework that also has supply chain with a lot of identity, hash commit reveal schemes, a lot of, so Fabric is getting extended all the time, and it's not so easy to kind of find the right token model that will work with everything. And we were thinking, okay, why don't we build a tool that actually is able to work with a standardized form of defining a token that will work across the board. So let me try to show a live example of what it looks like. By the way, questions? Usually I speak too quickly. That's fine. It's the end of the day. Everybody's happy to hear me speak quickly. So we built a tool that allows us to actually create a token template. Is the text okay? Oh, why is it not showing? Interesting. So let me. I have to quit the presentation mode, maybe. Yeah. Telling you, first time I'm presenting. Let me kill it. Sorry, 1 second. I don't know what you're going to see now. Oh, we're back. So here is a framework that allows me to just go to my tokens. is the text okay? I don't know if it's big enough or not. And I can just create a template. And it's something very similar to what Marley showed you with the mockup of a designer. And I can basically choose a base type of a token. It's going to be a whole, fungible, fractional, and I can try to go with the combinations that I allowed, okay, for what we support. And it's actually supposed to be very simple to basically come in and let's try to find, I don't know, let's do a function. No, let's do a whole non-fungible token. Should we do that? Or I can actually do a unique, okay, let's do something like cash, right? So I can just come in, and once I've chosen the base type, I can start like adding some behaviors, right? So I can say, I want to be able to delegate it, and I want to be able, and then everything here is like relatively well explained in the form that I can just have it, well, I don't know if I can do delegable that is not transferable, et cetera, and then I can have this combination. And I promise people on LinkedIn that I am going to call this thing fab token, all right? So let's call it fab token, but they're going to call it like fabulous token. And basically, I have the same thing as the formula that you saw before, but if you look at the actual taxonomy definitions, it's not that difficult for us to have a unified kind of one-to-one relationship between basically the representation of what are the properties and behaviors that I would like to have, and to actually generate a token that later on I can just go and, let me just see that I'm generating the right one. I can just go and upload the implementation, and this actually may be a bit complicated, but I'll talk about it. So while this is deploying, I'm deploying it now to Unbounded, I'm deploying it on a Fabric network. How many people here worked with DAML before? 1, 2, 4, 3, yeah. That's it? Okay, so I want to spend like, I don't know, maybe like half a minute to talk about digital asset kind of, and the language that they open sourced, which is one of my favorite languages for working with digital assets in the financial sector world. Very functional, very easy to use. Instead of us worrying about like, Solidity is actually very flexible in terms of like working with message.sender. Fabric is very easy because I have attribute value sets. DAML is very simple when you want, in our cases, we just looked at a few settlement cases where it's very, very simple for us to understand what's going on, have the logic, and then I can have versioning of a contract, of a token, I can split it. It's a lot easier to do it in a functional way. And we partnered with digital asset a long time ago, and this allows us to actually have an abstraction layer that sits on top of, let me just see if I can find it here. Fabulous token, do I have it here? I supposed to be able to run a Fabric. If it was deployed, it should be here. This is the previous demo, by the way. I hope to have a fab token here. Fabulous token, here you go. So I actually now deploy a app that actually uses DAML for settlement, working in a multi-cloud form that actually conforms to the token taxonomy framework that we define. And I'll just show like an example of what it looks like. I just deployed Fabric like a minute ago. I have blocks, transactions, normal Fabric world. This is actually running this time, no offense guys, on Oracle blockchain platform. Last time I showed DAML, it was on Azure. We work with IBM, we work with other kind of blockchain platforms, but it doesn't matter. Fabric today is generic enough for me to be able to work in a multi-cloud fashion just by using the Fabric API. And we spend a lot of time trying to make this thing very clear. Is the text clear to everybody? Is it too small? Is it okay? Okay, so I can just go Bob, Alice, and I have a wallet here with cash, and I have a wallet here with tokens. And I can just create something called like delivery versus payment, and it's just a commitment that I'm going to buy 100 tokens for $50, or I'll be able to move. This is an example of a bond trading app that we actually presented to a few companies recently, and we're productionizing it. But I can say I would like to have 100 USDs, and my token, let's say 50 tokens, and my token symbol is going to be fab, and the issuer here, oh, I see. See, now you know that it's a real thing. And then basically I submit a proposal that is now written to a chain. This is a bit complicated in terms of finance, but basically I have like 4 steps. I basically create a proposal, submit it, then the recipient can either accept or reject the proposal. If they agree to agree or agree to disagree, that's fine. But let's say they did agree. So I basically accept the offer or the DVP, and then basically I allocate here something, and then I settle on the other side, okay? So this whole exchange actually worked on Fabric, but without loss of generality. We could have done it on other things, just that we have a product that runs on Fabric, the DAML-on-Fabric kind of interface, and it's very easy for us to just take a standard token. I didn't change a single line in the Fabric code base to make it work. We actually work with Fabric to make sure that we can basically have a full end-to-end kind of work with DAML-on-Fabric. But the idea is, once I have this tokenization framework, this is just one example of how we did it on Fabric. We basically can generate that framework with the interfaces that we support, with the properties that we want to have in the token taxonomy framework kind of form, and then we can at least talk the same language. Because if you look at, what's the time I have? Okay, a few minutes. So my main concern today is that, yeah, we're making a lot of progress in blockchain, right? And we started with a single thing that worked on 4 nodes, and then we started adding more nodes, and then we had the ability to add a node to a network. We have Ethereum coming in now with a private offering, right? There's the Bezu and the permission offering. And if you ask kind of my personal view, not just as a vice chair, but just as Jonathan Levy, I don't believe that we are going to end up with one single blockchain. I didn't believe that we are going to have it when we had only Bitcoin before Ethereum. I didn't believe that Ethereum is going to be the next or the last thing. And I don't think that there's going to be only one Fabric network or maybe one version of Fabric in production, right? And that's already the case. So I'm not telling you anything kind of new, but back in the day, it was new, you know? And when I started working on permission kind of chains, everybody like, hey, what happened to you? You used to be a cool guy working on public chains, et cetera, et cetera. Why are you going corporate again? Because I really believe that we need to have real users with real applications, with real assets on these chains. And if we are not going to have real assets, and we are not going to tokenize them, think about it for a second. What are we not double spending? Okay, so we all have to work a little bit harder, at least at the beginning. And the last few years were actually, I think, promising. Hard, but it was expected, but promising. Because many companies now don't believe anymore that they should just have a lot of things in a data silo. People are talking about some public validation, and people are trying to tokenize stuff in a way that they can move across networks. So take a step back. Imagine that I would buy a handset today, and I'm going to connect to, I don't know, Verizon or AT&T. And every time I want to send Bryce a message, I need to know the maker of his handset, like what network is he on, and I don't know if he's available right now. That's not the system that we have today, kind of in the sense of 24/7, I don't want to work 9 to 5, and I have full auditability and transparency. So all I need to do is to just have a component that basically builds stuff in a way that is not just platform agnostic, as was mentioned here, but also implementation agnostic. I would like to have accelerators in terms of like hardware, software, libraries, tool sets, networks, platforms that will be able to work in a similar way, and they just have the same behavior so that we basically can align expectations, right? I know what I'm getting, I know under what conditions I'm approving stuff, I know what I'm not accepting, et cetera, et cetera. So my message to everybody here is that actually we didn't want to just sit in a room or in a lab and to create a framework and just throw it on, over the fence to everybody. It's an ongoing process, and it's actually growing, and we're getting a lot of good feedback. We're looking for problems. We're looking for different tokens, different behaviors, more property sets, what we did wrong, what needs changing, what is really keeping you up at night, and how we can help. Last things I would say, I don't think this is going to be the last version. This is version 1.0. I think we need to also, now that we are in Hyperledger Global Forum, I would like most or all project maintainers and people that are running kind of the different frameworks to start thinking about how we can work together, because I think that we are too fragmented right now. And I'm not saying it just because I like Fabric so much, because I spend so much on Fabric. I just don't think that we have enough resources to build so many fragmented systems, because we're just confusing the users and the client and the ecosystems. Questions?